Hello, this is Anne Carbert, career counselor and coach in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. This recording is one in a series of interviews with local experts who share their tips for career changers and job seekers. Today, I'm speaking with Deanne Kelleher, founder and principal of Chaos Group, a professional organizing company. She works with individuals and businesses to help them organize, optimize, and profit. Her company does residential organizing, and on the corporate side, Deanne works with individuals, teams, and small companies on anything from paper flow, processes and procedures, to team dynamics. In our conversation today, Deanne and I will focus on a few ways you can organize yourself when you're exploring new career options or undertaking a job search. Thanks for joining me, Deanne.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So you run a professional organizing company. What have you learned about how being organized helps you?
Wow, being organized really helps me and everyone I've worked with in the aspect of it allows us to think more clearly. It allows us to be focused, and it allows us to get down to working on what we need to be working on instead of being so concerned about all the other things that are creating, fuzz on the outside. It gives real focus.
Yeah, I was thinking as you were saying that helps you prioritize.
Absolutely.
And on the emotional level too, being clear and focused is really helpful.
It's hugely helpful. And when we're talking about job search or career change, it's enough that we're dealing with that big change in our lives emotionally, and if we're not really organized, if we don't have a real solid support for how we're going to go about something, when we bring in such an emotional challenge, it can really stir things up and make us feel even more disorganized. So when we've got really good systems in place for moving forward with the job search or the career change, when we've got some strategies and some things that we can check off along the way, it's quite empowering. Yeah, you can feel yourself moving ahead more. Absolutely.
Yeah, so we want to get into some of those tips and give people some concrete ideas. There's lots of information that we gather, of course, when we're looking into new career options or starting a job search. Those are things from contacts to keeping notes of your meetings, filing job notices and postings that you're finding, research into new occupations, or those kinds of things. So what tips do you have, maybe just a few, for keeping track of information like that?
Okay, so like you said, there are so many different avenues that we acquire this information. So a couple of great things are on your computer. If you're keeping all of your stuff in one folder, that's a really great place to start. So research aside, all your letters of reference, all the different types of resumes that you've written, we're always sort of tweaking and updating and maybe shifting the verbiage a little bit so it suits the job we're applying for. So keeping all of that information in one folder. You can even go to some naming methodology so that by looking at the name of a Word document when it was changed last, or if that's the final version. When we're talking about research on the computer, there's a couple of great ways to track that information. Bookmarks is one of them. Everyone has it in their search field. So you can bookmark pages as you see them on the internet, or companies that you see that you really like. But there's also Evernote. So Evernote's a way to capture information similar to bookmarks, but it allows you to do a little bit more with it.
Okay, right. So there are software programs that people could get that would help them track information as they find it.
Absolutely.
And so Evernote is something that you can have up while you're browsing, that you can put notes.
Absolutely.
Your notes into.
And Evernote's free.
Okay.
I'm all about, what's out there for free, because we don't need to spend any more money on this sort of stuff. Everyone will sell you a great organizing tool, but really, if we keep it simple, it's really helpful. So Evernote allows you to click on a page and just drop all of that information, so you can capture a group, like a whole page of information in the Evernote field. So when you double click on it and open it back up a week from now, you can see exactly what you were looking at. Whereas bookmarks just takes you back to that web page. So it's a little different in Evernote because you can edit it.
Okay. You had mentioned when we were talking a little bit about spreadsheets and how they can be helpful.
Absolutely. One big old Excel spreadsheet can keep all that information. together and in one place. Because what happens is, so you're dealing with the emotions of looking for a job or career change, all of that stuff that happens, because sometimes it can be exciting but unsettling. So there's all this emotional stuff we're dealing with. And then what happens oftentimes with people who feel disorganized or who don't feel like they're ahead of the game is there's so much information to track, they don't know how to keep it all together, so that they're really confident in their head that all the information is safe somewhere. So one big old Excel spreadsheet with, a column for the websites you've looked at, who you've spoken to, what their contact information is, their email, their phone number, if you sent them something and what the date was. And then if you send them a cover letter, because sometimes we can just send a letter of inquiry before we even get to the big stuff.
Sure, yeah.
So it's all of that sort of stuff. And then once you're in communication with someone, then you put them into your database and you sort of categorize them, job search or career path, so that you can add notes to that person's information. I sent them this email on this day, they responded, I've sent them a cover letter and my resume. So it all ties together. So you're really confident that you have all the information of everything that's going out there.
Yeah. You're going to give us an example spreadsheet that will be a link that people can find where this interview is posted. So that will be a handy thing to have, and people can change it as they're like. I often give my clients a couple of action sheets, charts. Spreadsheets are I know they do more, but charts, I'm thinking about, do you want to organize things by time, by when you want things done, or do you want to organize things by task with the time in there? So again, I encourage people as well to kind of track things and know what you've done when, and find a way that works for them too. So the spreadsheet is great and the database is great. Yeah. But if you want to make a spreadsheet and then print it out and write stuff into it, as long as you've kept track of it, that's what I recommend.
Totally. Yeah. Some people even put it into Word documents.
Right.
Because they'll copy and paste the verbiage from the cover letter with that person's name. So you might have a 10-page document where you've got all the communications with one person.
Right.
You're right. It's really important to remember. It's what works for you.
Yeah.
It's what you're comfortable with. If you want to print it off, that's fine, because in your filing cabinet, you can start a section in your filing cabinet where you've got that information.
Yeah.
It's most important to feel confident, because this is a huge venture for people.
Yeah.
We want to feel confident. We want to feel confident even within ourselves, because people don't always know we're feeling disorganized.
Yeah.
But it's so important to be putting that energy, channeling that energy into landing the job you want.
Yeah.
And making that positive career move, and not behind the scenes thinking in your head, wow, I wonder where I put that information.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, that's going to happen anyway, because it's a lot of information. So it's just giving yourself the opportunity to really succeed at what you're doing, and not let the organizational challenges or bumps along the way throw you off course.
Great. So that's on the information side. Just quickly, a couple of tips. What about organizing a workspace? The people I work with are very often managing their job search or exploring new options from home, while they're also trying to keep on top of their current work maybe, or other home life responsibilities and other activities. So any suggestions for kind of organizing the physical space for this project?
Absolutely. Keep it all in one place. So it doesn't matter if it's an accordion file, or a section in your filing cabinet, or something up top of your desk. That for some people it needs to be visually pleasing. So a polyfile pocket, like those sort of plastic pockets with the closed ends.
Yep.
Something that's maybe a bright color. You can use little sticky notes to say, I've scheduled this for this date in my calendar. So when you go and pull down the whole section, you just pull out the one folder and it's already tabbed. Do you know what I mean? So you're creating something that's visually pleasing. It's all grouped together. It's all organized. It's easy to get to. It's also easy to put away, because this can be a little overwhelming, possibly. And you don't want it to be in your face every single day. You want to go to it and to be able to put it away confidently, to know that you can pull it back out a week from now or 3 days from now, and you can pick up where you left off.
Yeah. Excellent. And just as we wind up, sometimes we put off organizing because we know that takes time in and of itself, and we feel for some reason really should just get to the task and the actual activity we want to do. So Any suggestions for keeping on top of organizing when you're busy or when you're under pressure?
Yeah. Organize in a clear headspace. Like if you're going to organize, say to yourself, I'm just going to spend 15 minutes doing this, because we all know the incredible things we can accomplish in 15 minutes of really focused work. Give yourself a break. Be positive to yourself. You know, in your head, because we walk this, every day in business and in life, being positive outward, but be positive inward. Keep all the stuff together. And if it gets a little messy, just give yourself 10 minutes to wrap it up at the end of every session that you're spending, whatever session or time that you've allocated to spend on the search. Give yourself a few minutes to wrap it up and make yourself notes, just so you're kind of giving closure to the work that you've just put in, all that effort and all that time, and just keeping it all in one place.
I know some people who've set timers, actually.
Yeah.
15 minutes, what can I organize within that time? And then when that's done, I have to go on to something else. Is there anything you can think of that could be a 5-minute task that people inspired right now could take?
A 5-minute task could be taking all of your computer documents that are resume or career search related and throw them all in one folder.
Right.
One folder, and you'll organize and create subfolders on the stuff in the next step, but right now put it all in one folder. Or go to your bookmarks, all those cool sites that you've bookmarked, and put them all into one folder called the same thing as your computer documents. Or go into your email inbox and do that in your email inbox.
Right.
Create a folder, put all the job search information in one folder.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So there we go. A few 5-minute challenges. You can choose one of those to run off and do right now. Thank you, Dan, for your tips and for your time.
My pleasure.
For everyone listening, there's a one-page flyer that I prepare that will accompany the interview, and that's a summary of key points from this conversation, contact information for Deanne Kelleher and Chaos Group, as well as some action ideas and information resources, and the documents that Deanne has generously prepared as well for you to download as samples. You can find all that on the resources page at annecarbert.ca.